Hey everyone, Larry Chen here. I just wanted to talk about a fun event that I had a chance to participate in. I raced the WRL 14 Hours of Daytona. This is something that I've been doing more and more recently because I got my NASCAR competition license. I've been racing as much as possible the last half of 2024 and all of 2025. For me, it's such a novelty because I'm finally able to race these tracks that I've been going to for so many years. I've been photographing them. I've been to every single corner out there. I've been in and out of the pits, spending so much time at all of these tracks. Daytona was one of the special ones for me because it is such a historic track for US racing, and I've spent quite a bit of time there shooting Global Rallycross. I've shot the 24-hour race twice. I've shot the Daytona 500 NASCAR race. It's such a grand track, and there's just something so special about it being a roval. There's beauty in just that because there's so few tracks that look like Daytona. Funny enough, Daytona was recently on the silver screen as well in the F1 movie. It was just so crazy to sit in the theater, watch the movie, and think to myself, I just drove those corners just not that long ago. This all started last year when Sunoco asked me to go race with Adam LZ and TJ Hunt. Unfortunately, I could not make that race. I had a scheduling conflict. It was at Circuit of the Americas, and I was so bummed that I missed that race because it looked like the guys had a lot of fun, and I think they did really well. Fast forward to this year, for whatever reason, I was free that weekend, and I was just so excited to be able to do a real endurance race at Daytona. Our race car was a NC Miata, and it had a Ford Fusion engine. It also had a ZF 8-speed transmission, something similar to what's in the Supra. So it was paddle shift. It was a very interesting vehicle. To be honest, it was probably one of, if not the slowest vehicle out there in the WRL field. Of course, with it being endurance racing, it doesn't matter. It's about conserving your fuel. It's about doing consistent laps, and then that way you have the best result possible. Let's just go through the weekend. I went early because this was my first time behind the wheel of a race car at Daytona. I've been on Daytona in other cars doing rolling shots, shooting photos, but I've never actually had a chance to race there. The thing that really surprised me the most right away was how much downforce and how much G-force was pushing me into the seat while I was on the bank. Even though I was driving a Miata, and let's be honest, it doesn't have the fastest top speed. I think we were seeing about 135, give or take a couple mile an hour on the straightaway. It was so much fun still because you really got that sense of downforce when you're on the bank. I'm gonna do something a little different from my normal race coverage. I'm gonna talk about the corner, driving it, and then I'm also gonna talk about the corner, photographing it. Turn 1, such a hairy corner, especially in the Miata. It wasn't the highest speed, but everybody else is passing you at that corner because at the end of the straightaway, I'm going 135, 137 miles an hour, and then everyone else is going even faster by 10, 15, 20, whatever. In GT3 cars, they're so fast. They would just dive bomb me, and then I would just have to commit to a line and get through it. Generally speaking, there's not really a good way to shoot turn 1 unless you're shooting from pit row. It just doesn't have that great of access, so it's pretty difficult to shoot that corner, so you don't really get the best photos from it. Turn 2 is not really a turn, it's more just like a little kink, and it's pretty much flat. The way I photograph turn 2 is pretty much from the other side of the track. It's more of just like a long straightaway pan. Turn 3 is the international corner. It is probably one of the most famous corners in Daytona because of the fact that you have the flags, but a lot of people also shoot those famous photos of the fireworks as well as the Ferris wheel. The International Corner is probably the hardest corner to drive. It was so hard for me to slow the car down just enough to make that corner and not to be greedy to get on the gas early. There's just so many things that I had to consider to be able to get out of that corner as fast as possible. That was kind of my make or break corner. Every single time I went for a lap, I would watch my predictive time either go up or down, just depending on how I did that corner. I don't know what it was. It was just so hot out there and it was so slick. It almost felt like it was off camber. From my understanding, it's pretty flat. Shooting that corner is so much more fun than driving that corner because there's so many ways to shoot it. You can shoot it from the exit, you can shoot it from the entry, you can do a wide pan, you can do a tight shot. It just feels so much slower than every single other corner on the track. Turn 4, it's like a left-hand kink, and most of the time I took it flat, but if I was going in with another car or if I was in traffic or if I was drafting somebody, just to give people a little more room, I didn't want to cause any incidents because it was my first WRL race. I would just let it breathe a little bit. I don't really remember ever photographing 4. My preference is to photograph the cars at least as they come out of 4 going into 5. Part of it is because that's the best place on the entire track, in my opinion, to get the glowing rotor shot. Maybe it's the way that the cars have to slow down. Turn 5 is the horseshoe, and I feel like I got it pretty good in the Miata. It was something that I was able to push pretty hard. There were a couple times where I braked way too late, and then I either went off into the runoff just a little bit, or I hit the dirt a little bit. The folks watching from the pits would tell me to kind of calm down a little bit. It's a long race, 14 hours, so I have to save the car and I have to make sure it comes back in one piece for my teammates, and it's something that I always kept in my mind. Turn 5 is also an incredible place to shoot photos, especially because you can get a really nice shot of the vehicles going away from turn 5 into turn 6. There's also an opportunity to get some nice pans, to get some nice, really close up on the driver, the sun in their eyes. You could see a lot of the wear and tear on the cars on that corner, especially because if you're using a pretty long telephoto lens, you can get right up on the details. Hey, thanks for watching. If you didn't already know, my first ever book is out. It's called Life at Shutter Speed. It's over 2,700 photos. It's 400 pages. I put my heart and soul into it. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's available on Amazon, and for you international buyers, it's available on CarreraBooks.com. We ship worldwide. Another cool shot for me is just turn 6, to my understanding, was probably one of the most important corners to get right in the Miata because it is a slower vehicle and it didn't make much power. This was the turn leading you up onto the oval, so you really had to focus on getting the best exit speed possible. I feel like I got it down pretty well. The shot there was one of my favorite shots of the whole track, but unfortunately you're not able to go to the same places that you were able to. The oval itself was pretty easy, but I know I had to really keep my focus and concentration, especially if I was trying to draft somebody. Otherwise, I would just stick to the very bottom of the oval just so it's the shortest line around the entire course. I think the most fun corner out of the entire track has got to be the bus stop. Oh my God, this thing is an absolute monster. So you're slowing down from pretty much max speed, going down 2 gears in the Miata, and then you just have to set yourself up right because this is also a make or break corner. if you don't do this right, then you just kill your mile an hour. It was pretty easy and pretty stable in the Miata, and I was pushing pretty hard. As time went on, I got a lot more comfortable and a lot more confident, and I would hit the curbs. And of course, the folks back in the pits watching me would tell me, hey, you gotta save the car, save the wheel bearings, make sure you don't beat up the car too much. Eventually, I was staying off of the curbing as much as possible, but there was a couple moments where it got pretty sideways there. But it was so much fun to drive that corner in particular. To photograph that corner is basically impossible. There's really no good way to get good shots of that area. One thing that was really special for me was doing a driver change at speed, and that's something that I haven't done before. For WRL, it's whatever you can do, however fast you can get in to get out, and then get the new driver in is how fast you can leave the pits. As I'm going down the pits and it's off the pit limiter, I'm starting to uncinch my belts, kind of starting to loosen them. I have to watch out for the lollipop, which is that sign that is signifying where your pit is. I have to turn in, and you can't cross more than one other pit stall to get into yours. They're very strict on pit lane penalties. So you cross one, then what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to hit the lollipop. That way the car is in the exact same position every single time for them to do whatever they need to do. So hit it, undo my belts, undo my radio, undo the air hose, undo the drink hose, jump out, they take down the window nets, and then I have to get over the wall and just forget about helping because everyone else is helping. And then also what's really fun for me is getting in the car. As the driver is coming in to pass the car onto me, I'm in my mental state where I'm like, okay, I gotta make sure I don't forget everything. I gotta do everything right. I gotta be careful. I gotta save the car. I gotta exit the pit right. There's just so much to think about, and I'm just so glad I had a chance to have this experience. It was so much fun. Let's talk about the race itself. We got up to second place in our class, and I was driving with some individuals that were so good, and we had such a great coach from Rapscallion who does a lot of work with the Sunoco team. I felt comfortable in the car. I felt like I was doing pretty good. I was keeping up and I had pretty good pace. I just wanted to finish the race. That was the goal. You know, there was no, hey, we got to get a podium or we got to win class. It was just, hey, we're out there to have fun, do our best, and see what the car can do. We did get up to second place after a couple stints, and then unfortunately, one of the guys had an on-track incident that bumped us back a lap or two, and that put us down to third place. Unfortunately, on my next stint, I was pushing hard. I was battling for position. I was driving with a lot of other people in class, and then the transmission started slipping. There was something funky going on where it wouldn't shift or it would read the gear wrong, and I would have to guess what gear I'm in. But essentially the transmission was failing. Eventually it completely broke, and then I had to pull off to the side of the track, and I had to make my way all the way back through just access roads. I was pretty much ready to call it a race weekend, but the Rapscallion guys and the Sunoco folks pushed so hard to get another transmission into it just for me to get back into it, and unfortunately it broke again after that. So it was just one of those things where it wasn't meant to be. We drove about 9 hours of the 14 hours, which was so much fun, but I know we would have gotten a pretty good result. I'm pretty sure we would have ended up on the podium, but that's racing. That's just how it is. There's other opportunities for me to drive this car and other cars like it. I'm just happy to participate in any way, and I can't wait to race again.